This program is paid for by Jacob Media Partners. Life can get hectic. It's easy to lose focus and balance. Wouldn't you love to retreat from the noise? Take a breath. Regain your inner peace. Visit Malvern Retreat House, the nation's oldest and largest Catholic retreat house. A 125-acre campus is the perfect place to step back, reflect, and recharge. Malvern Retreat House hosts men's and women's retreats, helping individuals live life centered on Christ. Go to malvernretreat.com to discover your journey. Retreat from the noise. Hear God's voice.
The Catholic struggle is real. America Magazine gets you, and that's what they're here for. Let's talk about prayer, doubt, sexuality, race, life, the death penalty, and everything in between. It's time to ask the tough questions. It's time for honest conversation. It's time to #own your faith. Don't miss their exclusive interview with Pope Francis, where he answered a wide range of questions on topics from the war in Ukraine to the role of women in the church to where he finds joy. Available now on the America website. To learn more about America Magazine or to subscribe, visit americamagazine.org.
Although meteorologically, the season of autumn has officially just begun, one indicator of the arrival of winter appears once again as students arrive for school each morning. Tryouts for hockey, the sport most associated with ice and cold, have begun. The start of those tryouts means hopeful team members not yet old enough to drive arrive at school carrying these enormous bags filled with their skates and other equipment, sticks in hand. The situation is only compounded for potential goalies who come in carrying $300 or $400 worth of leg pads draped around their necks. The stereotypical hockey player is a bruiser of Russian or French-Canadian origin. But in high school at least, that's a caricature, not a reality. Many very successful hockey players can make a career of being small and lightning fast. Those traits make it possible to arrive where the puck is going before it gets there. But it doesn't make carrying that load of gear particularly easy. A number of these underclassmen will struggle mightily to make their way out of a bus and to the locker room, certainly appreciative of anyone who holds a door open for them along the way, or, more rarely but inspirationally, takes a school bag off a classmate's hands and deposits it in homeroom for when he eventually arrives, winded from the early morning exertion. This is Brother James, the president of LaSalle College High School. One could do worse than use this image of the struggling hockey team candidate as a sort of visual parable. In fact, our founder, St. John Baptist de LaSalle, made the lesson explicit in his teacher training manual, The Conduct of the Christian Schools, when he wrote, "It often happens that students do not have enough strength of mind or of body to bear the burdens which many times overwhelm them," showing a compassion for children rare in 17th century France, where they really weren't considered people, more an extension of their parents' possessions. It's not that different in 21st century America. Now, young people face the burdens of overscheduling, unrealistic expectations of success, and heightened apprehension concerning failure, distorted images of belonging and fun portrayed on social media, new and easy paths to addiction, a tendency to anxiety and depression only partially attributable to COVID isolation. Never has the Catholic educator's role of opening a door, steadying or lightening a load or a mood, modeling such behavior for other young people in their care, been more necessary or more inspirational. You look like you're losing your grip. Here, take mine.
Jacob Media Partners invites you to spend an hour of your day celebrating your faith.
We acquire a fundamental right that can never be taken away from us. The right to hope.
In collaboration with the Archdiocese of Philadelphia and the Catholic business leaders of the Delaware Valley, including LaSalle University, First Trust Bank, and todayisagooddday.org. Learn from your leaders. Be inspired by your neighbors and find the power of grace in your life when you need it most. The Spiritual Voices of Faith begins right now.
Welcome in, everyone, to another edition of Voices of Faith, and so glad to be here for the month of September as we kick off what is our fall season of 2023, leading into what inevitably, Jimmy Brown, will be a great event at the end of the year or the first month of the new year. I always look forward to that when we get an opportunity to bring our great partners together and put on a very, very cool event, very meaningful event. The architect of those events, who's been a supporter and we've collaborated with over the last couple of years, is our special guest today, and I'm so glad to finally bring him in. And we're going to learn a lot today. We're going to have a good conversation.
Amen, Joe. Yeah, it's funny. I have fond memories of Angelo Valletta allowing us to be his guest at the Pyramid Club. What a special event that was. And as you just noted, I'm looking forward to the start of, or the end of our year and a little celebration with our team. Also coming up on the show, Jimmy Brown, of course, goes one-on-one with Archbishop Nelson Perez. They're talking about the return to school. This month is the month when the kids go back to school. Good 9-minute conversation you had with AB, Jimmy Brown. Well, it's interesting because the nice thing about the connection with Angelo is, Archbishop Perez talked to us a lot about culture and folks teaching and working in our Catholic school systems, not for the money, let's say. There are other dynamics at play, and I think in our interview with Angelo, we're going to learn an awful lot about that piece of his puzzle.
You were able to hear Brother James kick us off in today's segment, as he normally does. A little bit later on, America Media will be along with Own Your Faith. We continue to push the messaging and supply great content from America Media, Jimmy Brown, and I know you're a great fan of what is an incredible organization.
It's funny, Joe. I think America Media is, 2 million paid subscribers a month for their publications, but they're also, transferring to a different kind of platform in terms of using our internet to deliver goods and quality material.
Yep, no doubt about that. And certainly last but not least, Dan Solecki will be along with his inspirational message. We'll hear that from Dan throughout the show. Let's get started. We'll get to a commercial break. Jimmy Brown and Angelo Valletta on the other side. Back in a moment.
The Catholic Foundation of Greater Philadelphia is your trusted resource for Catholic philanthropy. We are an independent nonprofit working to grow philanthropy according to the teachings of Jesus Christ. Our foundation is grounded in the principles of faith and service. CFGP meets the needs of donors and Catholic institutions by providing fund management and fundraising services that help fulfill your mission. Together, we can help you achieve your charitable goals. To learn more about CFGP, please visit thecfgp.org.
Action News at 11 with Rick Williams. It's the team you trust to bring it all together. The stories that impact your community, a sports roundup for the locals, and the AccuWeather forecast you depend on. Action News at 11 with Rick Williams.
And back here on this edition of Voices of Faith with Jimmy Brown, I'm Joe Krause. Glad you're joining us here as we kick off our fall season, the month of September. Stay with us. A lot of big things planned over the next 4 or 5 months. Let's get into the heart of the show with Jimmy Brown and his very, very special guest. Jimmy, over to you, sir.
Well, Joe, it's interesting. We're going to be talking with Angelo Valletta today. Welcome, Angelo.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thanks for making the time to be with us at the program. Angelo, it's funny because a fair amount of time we'll interview folks like head football coaches that run teams in the NFL and superstar business people that run national operations, and you certainly fall into that category. But the unique thing about our conversation today, our history, our friendship, and it's fascinating, and I've said this privately to you, so I'll say it publicly on the air. It feels like family when you and I are together. It's a beautiful thing. So just to kind of set the tone for our conversation today, tell our listeners a little bit about Franklin Technologies and the work that you do in the Lehigh Valley and in our total community.
Sure. Thank you, Jimmy. And I got to thank both you and Joe for having me on Voices of Faith today. It is it's an honor and a privilege to be with you here this morning. So a little bit about me. I'm president and CEO of Ben Franklin Technology Partners Northeast, and we're based in the Lehigh Valley, but we do business in 21 counties in Pennsylvania. So we go up to the most northeastern part of the state, down through the Lehigh Valley, to Reading and Berks, and then out to Susquehanna Valley, where the beautiful Bloomsburg University is, and so forth. And we have multiple college partners as it relates to our technology investments. And that's what we do. We're here for one thing and one thing only, is to create jobs for the great state of Pennsylvania. And we do that by technology investments.
It's interesting. On campus right now, I've been to visit not too long ago. How many different operations companies do you have on campus right now? It's a pretty substantial piece of geography that you guys own.
Sure, yes. And our beautiful Tech Ventures, which is 130,000 square feet. And for folks listening that doesn't understand what 130,000 square feet is, it's almost as long as a football field, almost as wide as a football field, 4 stories high. So we have about 40 companies that call Tech Ventures home, in all different stages of their early stage continuum, from just getting started to they're ready to graduate out of the building. And that could take 18 months, and it could take 1.5 to 2 or 3 years sometimes. It all depends on what they're doing, how they're doing it, and why they're doing it, Jimmy.
Can you give us an example, someone, let's say, that you're currently working with that you're amazingly excited about? I've been there. All 40 operations seem to have a real path to a positive outcome. But give me a highlight of 1 or 2 that you really feel terrific about these days. Sure.
I'll start off with a really early stage organization. It's a company called the Meraki Co. And what this young individual has done is she created, and I'll digress for a second. She is a first-generation Syrian, first generation here in the United States, and this woman created a product that reduces the effects of urinary tract infections for females. She started this company when she was a freshman in college.
Wow.
And because she was having problems with urinary tract infections. And she created this product to reduce the effects. She was the first customer. She is an engineer, a chemical engineer by trade. And she started this company while she was in school. She created the packaging. She created the trademark. She created the product and the secret sauce to be able to drive this product. Now she's distributing this product to all of the United States and nationally, international as well. She has some customers internationally. So that's one. The second firm has graduated. So I went from the very beginning, Jimmy, and I'm going to the other side of it.
Right.
And a company called Life Air. And Life Air is a product that bolts on to HVAC systems that eradicates airborne pathogens down to the level of anthrax. And this organization was created by a world-renowned in vitro fertilization clinician helping those couples that were challenged with creating life. So they go to her and say, could you help me out? And she noticed that her embryos were dying at a higher rate. It's all about numbers, just like we have in real life. It's all about numbers, right?
Yeah.
And the more numbers you have, the more success rate. So hers was the same situation, and she figured out that it was airborne pathogens that were killing her embryos. So she set out and she created a product because she couldn't find one out on the market, Jimmy. So what geniuses do, she created her own with the grace of God that was on her side to be able to figure out the engineering behind this, and now is developing and installing products. Her product was just craned into the new Lehigh Valley Airport to protect all of the travelers as well as TSA agents and the individuals that go in and out of that new wing at the Lehigh Valley Airport.
It's interesting, Angelo. I love the fact that you mentioned the accountability, the numbers part of the equation. And we're going to talk about a book that you're just about ready to publish, and it's pretty exciting information. We'll get to that in the second segment. But tell our listening audience, let me make this a question. How do you stay connected with all these people? You referenced the numbers, but my observation now, over the past 5, 6, 7 years, you really dial into human beings, and you see them as probably the biggest asset in operational productivity.
Yeah. No, Jamie, thanks for pointing that out, because that's one of the things that I do best is build relationships, build connections into organizations, and connect those organizations to individuals that maybe they need subject matter expertise within. So for these are typically early stage organizations, so they don't have all of the subject matter expertise on staff, right? So how I do that is that we have a regional manager in each one of the locations that we have an office. So I talked a little bit about Lehigh Valley and Bethlehem, and that's where our tech ventures in are 130,000 square feet. We also have a smaller 30,000 square foot facility and off of Market Street in downtown Bloomsburg. Beautiful facility there. We have about 10 companies that call that facility home. And it's through my regional managers and the culture that we have built in regards to help developing those organizations to grow and prosper. And that's why my regional managers are there, and they help me connect in there. I make it a point to visit each one of my locations at least once a quarter and set up connections not only to those organizations that we support from an investment perspective, but also our lawmakers that help us drive the job growth for the great state of Pennsylvania.
It's fascinating. I've read a lot about, in preparation for our conversation today, and just to have a little fun with our conversation, I want you to tell our listening audience a little bit about what you learned about leadership in your first job working for your future father-in-law. I don't want to spoil the story. You tell it, please, because it's spectacular.
Well, it's pretty funny that you say that. And I was just having a conversation with a lifelong friend. I mean, we went to kindergarten together, this gentleman and I.
What's his name?
His name's Matt Manzi. And Matt's...
Manzi, right?
Manzi, M-A-N-Z-I, South Philly, just like myself. And we both worked at the corner grocery store, right? So
what was the name of the store?
Tony's Deli on Chadwick and Shunk in South Philly.
It was Tony's, right?
Yeah, that's my mother-in-law Antoinette. So it's Tony with an I. So
I love it.
So it was Antoinette. God bless my mother-in-law, who's a big listener of Voices of Faith. So
that's so cool.
I'll give her a shout out along with my father-in-law John. But there was one thing that he told Matt and I. There was a couple things. I'll say two things that he said on a consistent basis. Is that when customers come into the store, they want to see a smile. So smile, and even though if you don't want to, smile, because they can feel it, they can see it, and they can hear it on you. And then the second thing is that, boys, just do something. Even if it's wrong, we'll go and fix it. But do something, and we'll figure it out. And there were two very, very poignant pieces of sound advice that my father-in-law gave me. My gosh, it is probably 79 or 80. So it goes back a little bit, Jimmy.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, Ange. I think that you've been, just an outside observation, you've been very fortunate, blessed, I'll say, to have some incredibly powerful male leaders in your developmental years, let's say. Another thing that I read about, or maybe I heard you speak about it at one of the sessions where you've entertained groups, talk a little bit about your first job in the financial services business. You were a little too young, as I remember the story, and your dad gave you some guidance after the interview process that kind of put you in a leadership role at a very young age.
Sure. Very blessed beyond belief with strong individuals around me, male and females. I was told by a friend that there were some customer service jobs coming available in the summer. Now, Jimmy, this goes back into the 80s, so there wasn't automatic call distributions yet rampant. It was just rows and rows of individuals picking up the phone and answering customer service calls from, did my check clear or why did my check bounce, right? So, and the continuum all across from financial services products. So I went and I interviewed, and the personnel lady, it goes back that far, right? They called it personnel, if you remember back in the day. I love that,
yeah.
So the personnel lady, her name was Kay Fay. Wonderful lady, taught me a lot. And so she said, yeah, we think you have the right makeup to be able to join us, fill out the application, and there's a 6-week training. I said, okay. So I fill out the application, and I was 6 weeks shy of my 18th birthday. She said, we can't hire you. You're not 18 yet. She goes, you're still in high school. I go, yes, I'm still in high school. So I know we're butting up on the break, but Jimmy, real quick into the story is that I went home and my dad said to me, you didn't get the job. I go, yeah, I did get the job, but they said I was too young. He goes, you'll be 18 in 6 weeks. He goes, go back and talk to the HR, to the personnel lady, right? There wasn't even HR yet.
Right.
And she says, so I go back, and I didn't call her. I didn't even know what I didn't know, Jimmy. I just showed up to her door, knocked on the door, and said, Miss Fay, I said, listen, my dad sent me back here and said to that I can work, that I'll work for free for 6 weeks until my 18th birthday. She leans back and she goes, I don't even know what to do with you, Angelo. So she says, I'm not going to tell you you can, and I'm not going to tell you you can't. But if you show up, you can sit into the training sessions, and we can
figure it out.
We can figure it out. You take the test. If you passed, I'll tell you, Jimmy, to this day, as I'm sitting with you, I have no idea if I passed that test or not. I didn't know anything, but I guess she saw something in that young South Philly kid because she hired me.
God bless.
Angelo Valletta, our special guest today, certainly has passed the test of life. Great to have him here today on Voices of Faith. We'll get to a commercial break. Don't forget, coming up later on in the show, Jimmy Brown one-on-one with Archbishop Nelson Perez and Own Your Faith, presented by America Media. All that coming up. And round 2 with Angelo Valletta after the break.
The Catholic struggle is real. America Magazine gets you, and that's what they're here for. Let's talk about prayer, doubt, sexuality, race, life, the death penalty, and everything in between. It's time to ask the tough questions. It's time for honest conversation. It's time to #Own Your Faith. Don't miss their exclusive interview with Pope Francis, where he answered a wide range of questions on topics from the war in Ukraine to the role of women in the church to where he finds joy. Available now on the America website. To learn more about America Magazine or to subscribe, visit americamagazine.org.
The Catholic Foundation of Greater Philadelphia is your trusted resource for Catholic philanthropy. We are an independent nonprofit working to grow philanthropy according to the teachings of Jesus Christ. Our foundation is grounded in the principles of faith and service. CFGP meets the needs of donors and Catholic institutions by providing fund management and fundraising services that help fulfill your mission. Together, we can help you achieve your charitable goals. To learn more about CFGP, please visit thecfgp.org.
And welcome back, everyone, to this edition of Voices of Faith. It's an inspired Jimmy Brown today as he talks with Angelo Valletta. Jimmy Brown, as I throw back to you, I'm enjoying listening to you, my friend. You're engaged in our very special guest today, and like you, I believe, or I share in your joy. It's nice to be talking with Angelo Valletta today.
No doubt, Joe. As you and I have said countless times, on and off the air, this is a labor of love for sure. Our Voices of Faith, and we're fortunate to have Angelo with us. Angelo, I love the story about your father sending you back, saying, "Hey, just volunteer." And I also love the personnel director saying, I can't tell you you can, and I can't tell you you can't, but you can sure show up and sit in the back of the room. So fantastic story. I want to transfer a little bit of the subject matter for just a moment. I feel like oftentimes we learn the most when we face some substantial adversity. Talk to me a little bit about your brother Lou. Let's let the audience know a little bit about that history and some of the challenges, not only you, but your family faced.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Jimmy. And my brother was a very, very special man. And he passed away in 2009 from a heart ailment that he was really born with. He was born with 2 holes in his heart in 1963. So, and we know the amount of progress that we have had over the last now 60 years, if you think about it. He would have had his 60th birthday in August. But Lou,
so how old was Lou when he passed?
46.
Yeah,
he was 46. And we lost Mom at 46.
I remember that.
She passed away of cancer. But when, you expect in life, right? You have conversations with yourself and God to say, okay, I'm going to prepare for losing a parent. I'm going to prepare for losing a spouse as well as a sibling. but not at 46, right? So honestly, Jimmy, it tested my faith at that point because I was being selfish. My brother was taken from me, right? God took my brother from me. And I went about 45, 60 days with that thought process. And I'm on my way to Temple University. That's where both my brother and I graduated from. And in the early December timeframe, because he passed away September 25th, 2009. And early December, I'm driving to Temple, and I go, Jesus, I just don't want to be angry anymore. It's not something I wanted to do. It's not my makeup, Jimmy. You've known me for the last 10 years now, and I really try not to raise my voice and get upset. Now, you didn't know me 20 years ago, but we're not going to go there, Jimmy. But so I was angry, and I asked Jesus to take it. And that night, he did.
Wow.
Right? So I'm at a mentor-mentee alumni student event coordination, something my brother and I did for many, many years to help with that function and to give back to some of the students. And that night, this woman, Rachel Brown, who just new to Temple at that point in time, was talking about this event and wanting to really make it a wonderful, great event. Not something that 100 people came to, but something that 500 people came to, and that the students were excited. And at that moment, I said, how can I honor my brother here? So I changed it from because I changed it from being angry that my brother was taken to something to honor my brother. And from that moment on, my perspective changed. How do I honor his life? By helping others. So this event that we sponsored that evening, which was a $500 shopping spree at Macy's with a personal shopper for business attire. That's what students need in their junior and senior year as they go into interviewing time and so forth. That turned into an endowed scholarship at Temple University for my brother.
Which is amazing.
So just that act of giving it to Jesus Christ and being able to truly step back and let it come to me through Rachel, it's been an experience beyond belief, and I'm blessed to be part of it.
It's amazing, Angelo, and this leads me to this book that you've put together. When will our listeners actually be able to purchase the book, and where would they be able to purchase it? And give us the title, please.
Sure. The title is The 7 R's of Leadership in Life, and it's based on the 7 R's that, or really based on the 5 R's that I gave to my son, who was the inspiration of the book. And
tell our audience what your son's name is.
Yeah, my son is Alexander Valletta, so Alex Valletta. And when he was a middle schooler, parents and their young middle schoolers, it's a battle every day, right? It's a battle of wills, and it's a battle of just normally nonsense, quite honestly, if you think about it. So my son said, Dad, you have too many rules. It's just too complicated for me. I said, okay. I said, challenge accepted. I said, let me come back to you. Give me a couple days, and I'll come back to you. And I came up with these 5 R's, right? And it's all motherhood and apple pie, right? It's respect, responsibility, right thing, resolve, and relationships, right? So, and I said to him, I said, you follow these 5 R's. You and I will not have a problem, and I promise you that. Now, along the way, I added a couple R's because there's 7 days in a week, and my thought was that I would focus on 1 R and making that better every single day of the week. And that was the impetus of the book. That's what it's about. The book goes 28 days, so it's to be read once a day. The first 7 chapters are the first 7 R's, and then the rest of the book is reinforcing the R's with different R words, like resilience, how that connects back into the 7 R's. The book will be available in the November timeframe, and talk about being blessed with individuals in your life. I co-wrote the book with my daughter, Amanda, and my wife, Andrea. my daughter took the rambling thoughts that I had of the 7 R's and the other 21 R's that created this book, and she created a grid in a Google Doc. And the funny thing is, when you're working with your children, they can tell you things that most people won't. Right. And my daughter calls me up one day, and she was a professional dancer up until about a year ago.
She traveled all over the world.
She traveled all over the
ballet. It's that's quite an athletic endeavor.
Yeah, she was a professional dancer from when she was in high school, and she connected with a production company out in New York that put her on a tour throughout Europe, typically cruise boats and other land type of tours, but 60 some odd countries, 140 plus cities around the globe, that she displayed her passion. And at a ripe old age of 29, she looks like she's calling that a career. And now she teaches at All Saints Academy in Scranton, Pennsylvania, helping the special needs kids there. So
it's amazing. It's amazing. You know, I did read a little piece that you, an article that was published around your work, and the concept of servant leadership really struck me. And the three things that leaped out at me was the concepts of, in each opportunity, business opportunity, you're looking to, grow revenue, reduce costs, but most importantly, build relationships and enjoy the journey. Talk a little bit about that capsule of the work that you're doing.
And that last part typically gets lost, right? Most folks in leadership positions will focus on how do I increase revenue and how do I decrease costs. We know how to do that, right? When times get tough, you need to, tighten the belt, sharpen the pencils, and you're able to kind of weather through the tough times. That's the expense side of it. The revenue side of it, how do you bring in new business and so forth? But the key that brings those two together is how you treat individuals. How do you, as a leader, work with an individual with a growth mindset? Right? How do you grow them every single day? And there's something that I say to my team and the individuals that I interface with from a business perspective, is that I am just blessed to be the leader of the organization. I work for every single person on the team. I do that day in and day out. So I give them, if I'm able to give them the proper education, the right environment, a good culture. Good culture. There's also toxic and bad culture. Everybody talks about culture. Half the time it's a bad, toxic culture. So I create a really good culture that people want to come in, people want to thrive, and people that come into your organization that wants to help your client base.
Yeah.
And that's who I work for, because my team works for the clients.
Do you think that you're an intentional learner? Do you think you're somebody that, wakes up each week and says, hey, I gotta bring my game to another level?
I do, and Jimmy, I know you see my postings on LinkedIn. There every month I post basically a one pager of what I've learned that previous month. So it forces me to learn every month, and because if I'm trying to educate others, then I really better learn it right. So I'll post my leadership and life learnings every single month. I do that. I'm a little late on September. I do that within the first 10 days. I'm getting close to the 10 days. I'll do it over the weekend, but I already have it partially written. So, and it's what I've learned the previous month. So it's just a continual process. If I just get 1% better every single week or every single month, I'm doing okay. And that was Kobe Bryant's mentality, just getting a little bit better.
Yeah, it's fascinating, though. I think one of the things that you totally bring to the party is the concept of making the experience joyful. There are some folks that want to lead, and they have a heavy hand around that material. I don't know how you figure out how to balance that, but it's something that I really enjoy. I'm going to close with this question, and you can elaborate as much or as little as you'd like. Favorite book, favorite quote, favorite movie? Do you have something we can leave with our interview with that you can probably inspire some of our listeners today?
Sure. The favorite book Jimmy, it's in every nightstand of the hotels that you visit, and something that I read every day. It's scripture. It's the Bible, right? So I subscribe to this little book called The Daily Bread. My wife and I read it religiously every single morning, and it talks about scripture and how to lead your life and live your life. And I think about my 5 R's while I'm reading that. My favorite music, I have three songs that I play continuously, especially, Jimmy, I call you a lot when I'm, as you know, on Thursdays when I'm traveling back to the Philly area. I get onto that Schuylkill and I got to call Jimmy because he relaxes me. So as I'm fighting that Schuylkill traffic, as we all know, as Philadelphians, I listen to 3 things and talk to Jimmy Brown. One is it's a song called "I Believe." And it's pretty much music to the Apostles' Creed. It's the Lord's Prayer, and it's our Hail Mary, right? Those things ground me, and it allows me to really kind of focus in and take a deep breath while the craziness around me is happening.
Angelo Valletta, our very special guest today here on Voices of Faith. Stay with us as we get into the commercial break, and we'll close with Angelo and Jimmy Brown at the very end of the show, and we'll give you one more opportunity to learn about Angelo's upcoming book release. I'm very, very excited and very proud to say that Angelo unveiled that releasing here today on Voices of Faith. Back in a moment.
First Trust Bank was founded on the basic premise of serving others. The Green family legacy is remarkable, unlike any other bank in town. The Voices of Faith program carries that same basic service perspective into our local community as well. First Trust Bank is a proud sponsor of the Voices of Faith commitment to make a positive impact on our region in immeasurable ways. First Trust Bank and Voices of Faith, remember, great things can happen when we come together to serve others.
Life can get hectic. It's easy to lose focus and balance. Wouldn't you love to retreat from the noise? Take a breath. Regain your inner peace. Visit Malvern Retreat House, the nation's oldest and largest Catholic retreat house. A 125-acre campus is the perfect place to step back, reflect, and recharge. Malvern Retreat House hosts men's and women's retreats, helping individuals live life centered on Christ. Go to malvernretreat.com to discover your journey. Retreat from the noise. Hear God's voice.
Celebrating the life of your loved one is what we do at Life Celebrations by Givenish. When the matriarch of the Dalloway family died suddenly at 82 years old, Life Celebrations by Givenish stepped in.
They will make this the easiest thing that I know it's not easy, but they will make this as easy as possible.
Life Celebrations by Givenish, customizing services as unique as the individual.
I just know that my dad, who is in charge of everything, was not in charge of anything at that point when my mom passed. And again, just another shout out to this place for making it easy.
Turning tragedy into a celebration of life, no matter how hard, is what we do at Life Celebrations by Givenish. Life Celebrations by Givenish, customizing services as unique as the individual.
We continue now with an inspirational endorsement from Dan Solecki of Givenish Funeral Homes.
At birth, we boarded the train and met our parents, and we believe they will always travel by our side. As time goes by, other people will board the train, and they will be significant: siblings, friends, children, strangers, and even the love of our life. However, at some station our parents will step down from the train, leaving us on this journey without them. Others will step down over time and leave a permanent vacuum. Some, however, will go so unnoticed that we don't even realize they vacated their seats. This train ride will be full of joy, sorrow, fantasy, expectations, hello, goodbyes, and farewells. Success consists of having a good relationship with all passengers, requiring that we give the best of ourselves. This is Dan Solecki, Chief Operating Officer for Life Celebration by Givenish. The mystery to everyone is we do not know at which station we ourselves will step down. So we must live in the best way, love, forgive, and always offer the best of who we are. It is important to do this because when the time comes for us to step down and leave our seat empty, we should leave behind beautiful memories for those who will continue to travel on the train of life. I wish each of you a joyful journey for the coming years on your train of life. Reap success, give lots of love, and be happy. More important, recognize that God is the conductor of this train, and thank Him for the journey. Today, I want to leave you with some words from Mother Teresa. I used to pray that God would feed the hungry or do this or that, but now I pray that He will guide me to do whatever I'm supposed to do, what I can do. I used to pray for answers, but now I pray for strength. I used to believe that prayer changed things, but now I know that prayer changes us, and we change things. As always, stay safe, my friends, and may God bless you all.
And back here on Voices of Faith, don't forget, still to come on the show, Own Your Faith, our monthly segment with America Media. Right now, time for Jimmy Brown's One-on-One with Archbishop Nelson Perez. Jimmy, over to you, sir.
Well, thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. Archbishop Perez, I know that you're jamming on your schedule, so we'll jump right in. I'm pretty excited to talk about Respect Life Month and just the, the responsibility we all have to promote a culture of life and beauty and dignity of God's most precious gift. Give us your off the top of the head reflection.
Well, as the church has spoken and taught, and the bishops of the United States have proclaimed, respect for life is the preeminent mission in a sense, because everything we do is about life, right?
Amen.
It's about the sacredness of life, and the gift that God has given to us is life. It doesn't, in a sense, belong to us. It's a gift that's given to us, of which we have to be a good steward.
Yes.
I did nothing to come to birth. I wasn't part of that discussion.
Right, exactly.
Right? It didn't happen at a time of my choosing.
No, sir.
It happened in 1961.
Wow.
And life as I understand it right now will come to its fullness as I enter eternal life. And that, I'm not going to be part of that discussion either. Right. That will also come at the time of not at the time of my choosing, because life is the ultimate gift of God. Amen. And so life belongs to God. And it's not a place that we should dabble into, deciding when life begins and when life ends. And unfortunately, in the world, in particular in this country, we've dabbled in there, right?
Yes.
And we've spoken about how, life doesn't begin in the womb. And, of course it begins in the womb. Life begins at conception. And so while I was born in 1961 on a particular day, that's the day I entered public life, you could say, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
I came into the public stage of the world, but I existed from the moment of my conception.
Yeah.
I existed. I was me already. Yeah. I was a person. And so it's important that we spend this time in, especially this month of October, Respect Life Month, to be grateful for the gift of life, to work for its sanctity and its dignity and its protection. Because if we don't protect life, then oh my God, then everything's up for grabs, right? And so we have to be continue to pray, continue to focus on this great gift, and respect life in all its dimensions, right? Not only in the womb, but with each other in daily life.
It's fascinating. You travel down that path, because and the Catholic Church, forgive me for saying this, doesn't brag enough about itself. Just my opinion. We also care for the hungry, the poor, the sick, the immigrant, the elderly, the oppressed. And sometimes I feel like we don't blow our own horn enough on all that material. And you can tell me if I'm out and left.
No, you're not. And I often wonder about that, right? Even our own Archdiocese of Philadelphia, our Catholic social services, our human services, wow, they provide 7.4 million meals to those who need them. We provide shelters to hundreds of individuals, to seniors, to expectant mothers, to all sorts of people. We serve hundreds of thousands of people a year. I also happen to be chair of Catholic Relief Services. And while Catholic Social Services and Catholic Charities in the country is the local and the national domestic arm of the church, Catholic Relief Services on the other side is the Church of the United States, the Bishop's international charitable arm, 160 countries, 9,000 CRS workers, served over 230 million people last year. What the church does...
Stop. Say that number again. 230
million people in 160 countries.
Yeah.
What the church does is to
remarkable.
love the world.
It's remarkable.
Here in Philadelphia, in this country, and in the world. It's beyond the scope that any one of us could actually even absorb.
Amen. It's so, and it's, I was really encouraged by the concept that this summer, the Catholic Social Services Group, Provider of the Year, recognized by the group Real Alternatives. And I just love the fact that the work's been acknowledged. It's remarkable.
Well, that program, Real Alternatives, we've been doing it for a long time to help women, pregnant women throughout the Commonwealth. It's a wonderful program. It supports women. It supports life. It supports family. My prayer is that we could continue, hope to continue this wonderful program that we really, really need.
Yeah, it's just a remarkable service that is provided to our community. Again, one of the things maybe we as Catholics don't celebrate enough. And I know your schedule's tight, and I want to make sure that we cover all the bases or as much as we can in our time together. Hispanic Heritage Celebration. Just give us a moment about what's cooking on October 7th, annual Hispanic Heritage Mass at St. Peter, Apostle Paul. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, the United States, October is Hispanic Heritage Month. Right, that celebrates the gift of the Spanish-speaking world in the United States. That word Hispanic is kind of confusing in some ways, right? My parents are from Cuba.
Yes.
They would never call themselves Hispanic.
I understand.
They call themselves Cuban. Right. In the same way that you don't call yourself an Anglo. Right?
Right.
So it's a word that brings together some 23 different Spanish-speaking countries in the United States. Some of our Mexican brothers and sisters have been here over 250 years. Right? So it's a beautiful community that celebrates life, that lives the Christian faith at the heart, very devout to our Blessed Mother. And it's a community that likes to celebrate. So this month we acknowledge and we raise the Hispanic presence in the United States and in the church. And we'll be celebrating a Hispanic Heritage Month on October 7th at St. Peter's Church. I'll be celebrating that Mass. I invite you to come.
I would
people
love
to come and see the Hispanic culture. If the United States were a Spanish-speaking country, it would be the second biggest Spanish-speaking country in the world.
Wow.
That's how big
That's
the
amazing.
Hispanic community is, and it's a wonderful gift.
Good stuff with Jimmy Brown and Archbishop Nelson Perez. We'll get to a commercial break on this edition of Voices of Faith. On the other side, American Media's Own Your Faith. Back in a moment.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Android TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
The big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
The Catholic struggle is real. America Magazine gets you, and that's what they're here for. Let's talk about prayer, doubt, sexuality, race, life, the death penalty, and everything in between. It's time to ask the tough questions. It's time for honest conversation. It's time to #OwnYourFaith. Don't miss their exclusive interview with Pope Francis, where he answered a wide range of questions on topics from the war in Ukraine to the role of women in the church to where he finds joy. Available now on the America website. To learn more about America Magazine or to subscribe, visit americamagazine.org.
Introducing a groundbreaking national campaign, #OwnYourOwnFaith. Provided by America Media in partnership with Voices of Faith. America Media invites you to listen, engage, and own your faith.
Hey everyone, it's Father Jim Martin. I'm a Jesuit priest, editor-at-large of America Media in New York City, and I'm also the author of a new book called Come Forth, The Promise of Jesus' Greatest Miracle, which was just released. It is what you might call a deep dive into the story of the raising of Lazarus in the Gospel of John. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the story, it's the story of two sisters, Martha and Mary, who live in Bethany, a town outside of Jerusalem. And they send word to Jesus that their brother Lazarus is ill. Jesus waits a couple of days, a little mysteriously, finally gets to Bethany. And when he gets there, Lazarus is in his tomb already. Jesus goes to the tomb, cries out the words, "Come forth." And Lazarus comes bound in his grave clothes to the astonishment of all. The book looks at what this story can tell us today. I mean, after all, what does Jesus raising someone from the dead 2,000 years ago have to do with us? None of us are going to be raised from the dead like that, like Lazarus. But the theme of the book is that God really calls all of us into new life. And God asks us or invites us to leave behind anything that really kind of keeps us bound or unfree, or really sort of attached to things that aren't helpful in our lives, that keep us from following God more closely. So, for example, God may call you to let go, or really even to let die, something like an old grudge or a resentment or a disappointment, or more broadly, something that is a kind of an unhealthy pattern of life, right? Maybe you're too mean or sarcastic, or you're lazy or something like that. So God calls each of us to leave behind in our tombs, as it were, anything that kind of keeps us unfree, and to hear God's voice calling us into new life. That's really the point of the book. It's God inviting us into new life. Now, the book is not just a spiritual look at this gospel story. It also looks at some of the latest biblical scholarship about Lazarus. Who was he? Who was this guy? Some scholars believe he might even be the mysterious beloved disciple of John's gospel. It looks at Martha and Mary, what we can know about them. It also looks at Lazarus through culture. How has Lazarus been portrayed in the fine arts and poetry? There's lots of pictures in the book, which I'm really happy about. And it's a bit of a travelogue, too. It takes you to the site of Lazarus's great miracle, Jesus's great miracle in Bethany, in a town in Palestinian territory called beautifully Al-Azariah, the place of Lazarus. So really, this book, Come Forth, is an invitation to you to hear God's voice in your life saying, come forth, come into new life, leave behind anything that keeps you unfree. As I said, none of us are going to be raised from the dead like Lazarus was, but all of us every day of our lives all of us are invited to hear God's voice inviting us into new life. So I hope you enjoy the book. It is out in print, of course, hardcover, also as an ebook and an audio book, which I recorded. So I really hope you enjoy the book. As I said, there's lots of wonderful pictures in there that came out really nicely. And it's very inviting and very accessible. And I hope you can enjoy God's invitation to you saying, come forth. Thanks very much. God bless you.
That's going to do it for this edition of Voices of Faith. Before we say goodbye, Jimmy Brown, it's amazing and sometimes mysterious how the good Lord works. Our show with our special guest today, Angelo Valletta, dropping and releasing in the month of September, on the weekend leading into the anniversary of his brother's death back in September. And we're glad to have him. I'll toss it over to you and Angelo for final thoughts.
Angelo, it was a delight to be with you this afternoon and allow you to share some of your wisdom. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you to just give me a minute on your beautiful bride. You know, you've got You got to give her a little bit of sunshine here as we close our segment.
Yes. And, Jimmy, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. And believe it or not, as I was working with the publisher on the book of 7 Hours of Leadership in Life, the only thing I really dug into that was the book cover to be exactly how I wanted it. The inspiration, as I said, came from my son. My daughter and my wife, who has been, my wife specifically, has been an incredible influence on my life. Jimmy, we've known each other since we've been 7 years old. We started dating as freshmen in high school. We'll be married for 35 years next month. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
So
tell the audience what Andrea does for a living too.
Sure. She's a nurse by trade, and
what a surprise!
Yeah, always
give her not a taker.
That's for sure. And now she works for a charter school in Center City, Philadelphia, in the special needs department. So for sure, she's been an inspiration. And the book cover, they originally had a silhouette of a male on top of the mountain pulling up a female, and I said, that needs to change. I said, that female is my wife and my daughter. And that man who's got his hand out is getting pulled up. That's what that book cover means to me. And that's the reason why it's so special, because there's a bit of sun coming up over a mountain. For me, that's God watching over all of us as we go through our daily life and how we are supposed to live that life. And that's what I hope the book does.
That's going to do it for this edition of Voices of Faith, an amazing interview with Angelo Valletta and Jimmy Brown. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. On behalf of our very, very special guest, Angelo Valletta, and, of course, on behalf of Jimmy Brown, I'm Joe Krause. Believe in hope, everyone. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to this special edition of Voices of Faith in collaboration with the Catholic business leaders of the Delaware Valley and the Archbishop of Philadelphia. Supported by America Media, 6ABC, LaSalle High School, and First Trust Bank. First Trust Bank invites you to download today's show from YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. Simply search Voices of Faith, a Jacob Media, J.P. Brown Communications production. Life can get hectic. It's easy to lose focus and balance. Wouldn't you love to retreat from the noise? Take a breath. Regain your inner peace. Visit Malvern Retreat House, the nation's oldest and largest Catholic retreat house. A 125-acre campus is the perfect place to step back, reflect, and recharge. Malvern Retreat House hosts men's and women's retreats, helping individuals live life centered on Christ. Go to malvernretreat.com to discover your journey. Retreat from the noise. Hear God's voice.
The Catholic Foundation of Greater Philadelphia is your trusted resource for Catholic philanthropy. We are an independent nonprofit working to grow philanthropy according to the teachings of Jesus Christ. Our foundation is grounded in the principles of faith and service. CFGP meets the needs of donors and Catholic institutions by providing fund management and fundraising services that help fulfill your mission. Together, we can help you achieve your charitable goals. To learn more about CFGP, please visit thecfgp.org.